Hi, I'm Ron Lawson with Dirtbike Magazine, and I'm here with the 2024 Ktm 300Sx two-stroke motocross bike. This bike blew our socks off last year when it arrived. KTM had never produced the 300Sx for the US before. It was up to the buyer to build it up from a kit or a modified off-road bike. There were a bunch of riders who attempted to race the 300XC in motocross, but it wasn't a good fit, particularly with transfer port injection that came along in 2018. That made for a smooth off-road power delivery, but it wasn't barky enough for MX. Now, KTM has a whole new two-stroke engine platform. It has electric start, an electric power valve, and throttle body fuel injection. All that stuff has been seen before individually, but with the 300SX, KTM integrated it all in a way that we haven't seen before. The bike CPU controls everything, including how far and when the power valve opens. That's never been done before on a production bike. As far as the chassis goes, the frame was updated to the same general specs as the four-strokes, meaning the flex characteristics for the front of the bike and the rear are sort of compartmentalized, making it easier to work on suspension settings independently. KTM engineers also designed more anti-squat tendencies to attain a level attitude under acceleration. All this happened last year, and now the 2024 model arrives without any mechanical changes. We believe there are some undisclosed mapping updates that came along, which might be the way of the future. The programming in this bike is so complex, we know that KTM's testing department was finalizing it right up until the first bikes arrived. For now, the company doesn't want end users messing around with that mapping. There are just too many ways it could go wrong. The bike does have a two-position map switch. Other things you should know up front, the suspension still features a WP Xact air fork in front and linkage drives and Xact shock in the rear. The brakes and hydraulics are still Brembo, and Premix is accomplished the old-fashioned way. You mix the oil and the gas yourself. Up front, you should know this bike is insanely fast. We always hear riders talk about how powerful modern 450 four-strokes are, and technically, the fastest of them might make more peak power on a dyno than this bike. But that's just a number. On the track, the 300SX feels more powerful than any of them. It has more to do with the way the power is delivered. Down low, the 300 is smooth and runs super clean. If you have good throttle control, you can actually ride it in the zone before the real power starts, and you can turn in respectable lap times. But if you really want to move out, wait around, let the show begin. When the 300 takes off, it really takes off. Modern four-stroke riders might not be ready for this kind of power hit. Most have grown up in the era where smooth power deliveries have accomplished miracles in disguising and making power easier to use. The 300SX has an element of that. It's certainly easier to ride than a ported and polished 250 two-stroke from the old days, but it's also harder to ride than a 450. On the other hand, it opens up options for different riding techniques. Almost all 450 riders have learned to do all their hard braking with the clutch in. The risk of stalling makes that essential. And then when the power is fed in, it takes a delicate balance of throttle and clutch control. With the 300SX, you can brake hard without touching the clutch, and then roll on the power the old-fashioned way. The 300 teaches you real technique. and that makes you a better, more precise rider. As we pointed out earlier, the bike does have 2 maps available on the handlebar switch. The Wild Ride is the green map on the bottom, and that's the one that most riders choose simply because it's fun. The pros, that's perfectly fine. Almost everyone else should go with the gray map. You don't get the big hit, and the thrill factor isn't quite the same, but you will wear yourself out less, and the result is a better overall performance. It's just hard to accept that. In the course of any given race, riders often switch back and forth, which is easy to do on the fly. They usually start off with full power, then when they get a little tired and change to the mild map, they start to feel like they've left something on the table. After a lap or two, they go back to the fast map. It's human nature. In truth, KTM really needs to offer more than just 2 maps. 5 would be about right. JD Jetting already has a piggyback fuel controller that allows you to alter the mapping somewhat. You can change fuel delivery, but not spark advance or power valve opening. That gives you a little more adjustability, but there's no way to change it on the fly. As far as the handling is concerned, much has already been said about the new frame on KTM's 4-strokes. This isn't that different. The 300SX weighs 223 pounds without gas. That's 6 pounds lighter than the 450SX. It's easy to initiate a turn, and it provides a level platform all the way through the corner. Any 2-stroke, though, will behave differently than a 4-stroke as you accelerate out of the turn, simply because the power delivery is so much more aggressive. Like we said, it teaches you good throttle control. We've come to respect and enjoy the WP air fork, too. The biggest mistake that most riders make is to micromanage the air setting. If the fork feels too stiff at 153 pounds, it will probably feel stiffer at 143 pounds. Changing air pressure should be your last resort. No matter what you do, you will find that a 302-stroke seems to hit all the bumps a little bit harder than a 454-stroke. That's the one advantage that 4-strokes still have, and it's hard to fix with just suspension tuning alone. We still love this bike. It's fast, and it's really fun. The Ktm 300Sx is probably the ultimate practice bike, and once you learn the 2-stroke touch, it's a great race bike too. We'll have more to say about this bike in the future, so check in at dirtbikemagazine.com. Also, look us up on Instagram and Twitter, and while you're here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching.